All right, so composite figures are when you take two or more shapes and you stick them together. Okay, we've done this with two-dimensional shapes, but now we're going to have 3D solids. When we get to volume, volume would be very easy of a composite shape. You find the volume of the one shape, volume of the other, and you just add them together. That's really easy. Surface area, however, is more challenging because when you stick a shape on top of another shape, you often lose a surface. So the bottom of this is no longer a surface that's on the outside. So what that means is you would have to find the area, the surface area of something, the surface area of something else, and you may have to subtract something. Some students will do this differently, like they might just want to add all the two-dimensional faces together, like just do the rectangle, 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 a rectangle with a rectangle cut out, because this is taken away, and rectangle, 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 rectangle. So if you just want to do it that way, some students find it easier. Sometimes it'll benefit you to do like just the lateral area of some of them and the surface area of others because things are cut off. It requires you to think and problem solve. So it's not just going to be as simple as plugging into a formula, which is why some of you hate this. All right, so to find the surface area of composite figures, you can do this by adding either the surface areas or the lateral areas, depending on what instance you're given. And occasionally, you may also need to subtract one or more of the surfaces. Notice my little or statement, or if you prefer, you can just find the area of all the two-dimensional shapes and add them together. And sometimes that will be easier. Now when you do this, you do want to think about if you were in ceramics class, like glazing your pot, the other Mrs. Bennett's class. Okay, let's suppose this was a solid and I wanted to glaze it with paint. It's easier if you think about what surfaces do you have to paint. That's the outside surface that you're finding. Okay? So think about painting when you're thinking about what would get painted. All right, so we have a rectangular prism with a cylinder on top. Find the surface area of the composite figure. Now some students would just be like, oh, I'm going to find the surface area of this and the surface area of this, and I'm going to add it. But you would be counting something that is not actually on the surface anymore. So, does anyone have a suggestion? And there's many ways to do this. Brett?
Find the surface area of the cube, find the surface area of the cylinder, and then subtract the base of the cylinder.
Close.
Times two, yeah.
Yes, you have to double the base of the cylinder. So he said to find the surface area of it would be a rectangular prism. So surface area of the rectangular prism, which will be the bottom, the top. Now the reason you're going to have to subtract something is because this inner circle should not be included. He said let's also find this surface area of the cylinder and add it. And then you have to subtract. So when you found the surface area of the cylinder, you counted this part, which shouldn't be counted. So that's subtracting one circle. Now when you found the surface area of this shape, you also included this part, which you don't want because it's inside of your shape now. So you would have to subtract two circles, which would be your 2 pi r squared. Now there's an easier way to do it, but I don't know if any of you will think of it. Using a lateral area instead of just surface areas. So remember, lateral just includes the sides. Right?
Find the surface area of the cube, and then find the lateral area of the cylinder and add them together.
Yes. If you find the surface area of this, let me erase my little markings over here. That would include all the surfaces. So that would include this bottom part, which you don't want, right? You don't want this circle. But if you find the lateral area of the cylinder, which would only be the sides, you could let this portion that we already found count for the top portion. So almost like copying and pasting that area up to the top. Either of these would work. You also could just find the area of all 4 rectangles the bottom rectangle, the top rectangle, subtract a circle. You would still have to do your lateral area and then add on a circle. So if you'd like to do it piece by piece, you can. Which of these would you like me to show on the board? 1 or 2? 2? Okay. 2 is the shorter one. They both work. So what is the surface area for a rectangular prism? If you're not sure, go back to your formula sheet.
pH plus 2b.
Good. pH plus 2b. So prisms are the worst because you have to do a lot of work to find P and B. Now, in this problem, technically any of the shapes could be your base, but let's just go ahead and let the bottom be the base. So what would the perimeter of the base be? What would the perimeter of our base be? We all can add, and if you can't, you have a calculator. 44, thank you. 14 plus 14 plus 8 plus 8. Or 22 plus 22 if you just add the two sides and then double. All right, the height of the prism would be the height here, which is 12. And then remember, big B is the area of the base, which should be what? 112. 14 times 8. Plug that into your formula and find out what your surface area is. So it's basically like 2 problems in 1. Then we have to find the lateral area of the cylinder. What's the formula for lateral area of a cylinder? 2 pi r h. Remember, perimeter of a circle is the circumference, which is 2 pi r times h. So just plug in, we have 2 times pi, our radius is 4, and our height is 8. So 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 8 is 64 pi. It does not tell us what to round to, but then let's just leave it in terms of pi. Then we don't have to type in our calculator. So the final answer will be 752 plus 64 pi square feet. All right, now the next one, we're not actually going to find the answer, but we're just going to come up with the game plan of like what we're going to add together, because you should know how to do each of the pieces. It's just coming up with what to add and subtract. So for the next one, take a look what we have. We have a square prism. Let's put a 48 here on the bottom. And then what's on top of it? A square pyramid. So, thinking about surface area, lateral area, what do you think we should do to find the area of the composite shape? Ethan?
Find the lateral area of the pyramid and the lateral area of the rectangle prism, and then you add a base.
Okay, so lateral area of the pyramid would be the 4 triangles. Good. Lateral area of the prism, which would be the 4 sides around. And then he said, let's add a base. So add the bottom. So we'll just say plus the area of 1 square. That will work. And I like it. Anyone think of another way? I have 3. And that was one of my things. Some people always like to do surface area, and then you think about what to subtract. So if we do the surface area of the pyramid, which I know this doesn't look like a pyramid, but just work with me. If you found the surface area of both, how many bases would you have to subtract? 2. So when you found the surface area of the pyramid, you included this part. this inside square. When you did the surface area of this, you also included that square. So you'd have to subtract 2 times the area of a square. And there's one that you don't have to subtract or add anything extra on if you think about it using just lateral and surface. No. Surface area of the rectangular prism would include that.
The surface area of the rectangle and then just lateral area of the.
Yes, but when you find surface area of this, you would still be counting that inside piece.
Oh, I see.
So you're going to switch that around. So we'll actually do the surface area of the prism, or excuse me, pyramid. That will include this part that you think you don't want, right? But you can let that represent the bottom because they're the same size. And then you could do the lateral area of the prism. So the hardest part for you guys is going to be to think through. Again, if you struggle, just add up all the outside shapes. Do 4 triangles, 5 rectangles. Add them all together. That will always work. But you'd have to use all of your area limits. All right. Your turn. Let's not find it. Let's just come up with the game plan. So complete the rest of the packet